More NASCAR content? For all the latest in NASCAR, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-in shows, and awesome giveaways, tune in to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site with new shows every Tuesday night. Check out Lap Traffic on the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and follow on Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Playoff Racing on Tuesday night for the Full Send Racing Series. The whole season has been built up to the start of tonight. The stage is set. 12 drivers enter, prepared for the playoffs. As tonight's race is going to be at Las Vegas to start the playoffs off in this round, as it is the Impact Sim Design 200 at Las Vegas. Drivers are currently underway with qualifying. We're about to get ourselves set up for this race. There are some playoff implications already underway, even with qualifying for this race. Jonathan Spear currently is disconnected. He's trying to get reconnected back to this race. He's only got about 3 minutes to do so. He's got to be quick on it, as Las Vegas here for the Impact Sim Design 200 certainly should be a good one. As we've seen in past weeks that we've covered, Las Vegas usually gives us some of the best shows ever. We can't wait to give you all the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart. Trevor, certainly a wild season we've had, and it's all starting now to hunt for a championship.
Starting here tonight at Vegas, we ended the championship last year and crowned a champion here last season with that of Ross Tatum getting the championship. But we're going to start the playoffs here tonight, Sam, and what a race track to do it at, especially with the trucks and kind of the package that the trucks deliver here. Should be in for a really good race tonight.
And now the ways that you're going to be able to see the drivers on our ticker board going to be in blue, but let's take a look at who exactly is going to be in the playoffs. This is how it's going to be broken down in the playoffs with all the sponsors that are helping with us. Top of the board going to be Zach Hall in that 42 machine, certainly going to be a quick driver. I mean, the 32 machine, who has been fast all season long, has the most wins out of anyone with that 4, and certainly a favorite to watch out for. Ross Tatum, Chris Stitz, Cameron Sarton, 2-time champ. You also got Ken Campbell, Christopher Wade, Nick Holland, Jonathan Woods, John Dart, Jonathan Spear, who won last week to get himself into the playoffs with Will Bustler, and as well Kyle Carpenter. That was the last driver in points to make it in. I mean, Trevor, certainly an incredible 12 drivers to enter, and also the ways it's going to be broken down. To move on to the next round, we got 2 races to figure out who's going to have the most points. We'll break it down from 12 down to 8. After 8, it's about making the final 4, where you get to run for a championship, where the championship race will be held at Phoenix Raceway. Certainly an incredible playoff bracket that we have set up for it.
Oh, it's a great playoff bracket. You look at the tracks. We start here tonight at Vegas. Next week, we go to that of the Indianapolis Road Course, then Atlanta Speedway, the Super Speedway layout, and then Martinsville's the cutoff race to get into that championship 4 race at Phoenix. I mean, these next 4 weeks, Sam, are going to be intense. The battling on track is going to be wild, and I cannot wait to see who makes it to that championship 4 when we get to Phoenix.
Phoenix certainly should be a good one. These trucks, based on momentum, and a lot what we've been hearing about is the rumblings that it could be all about pack racing. So track position could be very important on where you are currently on track. And currently it's Ken Campbell, top of the board at this current moment. But here's a driver who I thought maybe could find some extra speed, and he does. Travis Dart trying to go for his 3rd pole here at Las Vegas. He's gotten the pole the last 2 seasons, and with time ending now, he gets his 3rd pole here.
And Travis, I mean, he's shown great speed in qualifying, and on the course of the short runs, Sam, it's the long runs that 26 machine really struggles. And tonight, collecting his 3rd pole of the season. Hopefully this time, 3rd time lucky. Maybe we'll see that 26 stay up front all night long.
And certainly a track that Travis Dart has found success in before, all the way back in season 1 when they were running in the Xfinity cars at that time. Travis Dart found himself in a victory lane. Since then, he hasn't been able to, but again, he's gotten the pole now 3 Las Vegas races in a row. Incredible feat by that 26 machine. And as the drivers are gritting up, hey, let's take a look at where the rest of the drivers are going to be starting out here tonight. Getting the pole, like we said, Travis starting the 26. Going to be on that inside lane. Ken Campbell going to be in second. Will Bustler third, with Cameron starting fourth. Ross Tatum, last season's champion, the last driver to win here at Las Vegas, going to be starting in fifth. Sixth, going to be fill-in driver Brian Cole. For that, Brian Wilson, that's not able to show up. That Andrew Medlin going to be in 7th. Ryan Lynch 8th. 9th goes to Austin Call. And John Dart finish out your top 10.
Joshua Altice will roll off in 11th place with Chris Stitz in 12th. Charles Hugel will roll off in 13th with Bill Dart filling in 14th position. Philip Chavez in 15th with Kyle Carpenter in 16th. Jonathan Woods 17th. Christopher Wade in 18th. Sam Siegel 19th. And Zach Hall will round out our top 20 drivers.
21st going to be Nick Gould with Nick Holland all the way back in 22nd position. Cole Sacchetti, who was going to be in the playoffs, decided to step away. Still going to be racing with us here tonight for the 42. We'll be starting in 23rd position. Steve Benjamin going to be race control in 24th. And Jonathan Casepier, who has reconnected back into the race. He's trying to get back into his sim. Currently right now, the 8 machine, very fast during practice, missed out on qualifying because of internet issues. That's going to be a big talking point for the driver that won his way into the playoffs after last week.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work ahead of him to get up there to the front, Sam. But, I mean, you look at the qualifying order. Jonathan Woods down there in 17th, Zach Hall in 20th, Nick Hall in 22nd. So, I mean, he's got other playoff drivers down there, not too far ahead of him that are also down the order that he can use kind of as a pick to get up through the field and see if he can snag himself some stage points.
Points going to be a massive thing to talk about throughout tonight's race. Drivers aiming to get laps led, the most laps led, and as well the big points to be grabbed, stage points. At the end of lap 40, it's going to be the end of our stage where the top 10 drivers get bonus points. First place gets 10 bonus points, second gets 9, third gets 8, continues to dwindle down until we get to 10th place in that position. At the end of the stage, we'll get 1 bonus point, but every point so crucial. Drivers are rolling off. Tonight's race going to be 133 laps in total. We will have no fast repairs, 4 extra sets tires in pit road to work with, and again, stage break at the end of lap 40. But Trevor, what's going to be the biggest things for these drivers to watch out for?
I think track position is going to be important, Sam. I think cold tires. I mean, turn 3 and 4, we've seen it, in a lot of leagues that we cover here on Freaky Fast, that 3 and 4 on cold tires in these trucks can be very temperamental and very dangerous. So drivers are going to have to be careful of that. And then just tire wear in general, once they start to wear out and you're in a pack like this, you got to be careful about getting too tight, pushing up into the truck above you, and maybe potentially causing a wreck and taking yourself out or a playoff driver out of the race.
See that blue on the splitter, banner and spoiler, indicating you are in the playoffs. So many of them up front. You'll also see blue on our ticker, indicating that those are the playoffs and what position they're in. Green flag is out. The Impact Sim Design 200 is underway, and the playoffs for the Full Send Racing Series Season 4 roars down into turn number 1.
Travis Dart with a good restart. He's going to clear Ken Campbell. It's going to be Will Bustler and Campbell battling side by side for that of second and third. And you got Tatum, Sarton, and Medlin all back there trying to fight for who's going to get some track position here. The outside line has a little bit more momentum out of turn number 2 as Dart moves up to the top line. That's going to give Bustler a chance here down on the bottom. He's a little bit loose, though, trying to hang on to it. Drifts up just a little bit, saves it, and Travis Dart's going to come back to lead lap 1. But Campbell's thinking about taking it 3 wide, but no, falls back in line behind the 26.
Quick turnaround as the 26. So Travis Dart going to lead lap number 1, holding back the playoff contenders of Will Bustler and Ken Campbell. Campbell talked about how with us, the early portions, the outside lane is fast but very loose in the first couple of laps. So drivers that are on that outside lane always got to be thinking of how to protect yourself as a 2-time champ. Cameron Sarton still searching for a victory here tonight. And the 24, what a way to make a stamp in the playoffs if he can get up front and win here tonight. Currently in 4th, side by side with last season's champion of Ross Tatum, but trying to go for the lead, it's Ken Campbell in the 15.
Did not take Campbell long to get to that front, to that lead spot. Definitely wants that clean air now. It's going to allow Will Bustler to get to the inside of the 26 of Dart, see if he can get this move done. But Travis is going to have the better run, a little bit of draft help from that 15 machine. Sarton still side by side with Ross Tatum. 3 and 4 still side by side for second, but looks like Bustler might have the edge here out of turn number 4 and is going to clear that 26.
That was Ross Tatum side by side with our pole sitter, and we kind of touched on it, on the fact that 26 of Travis Dart can be very fast in the short runs. It's the long runs. He's been trying to find that little bit of extra pace. Could be a strategy call of trying to back off and fall in line. Maybe give up some position, give up a little bit of spacing so you can save those tires for later on in this run. As we see the 26 and the 21 still fighting for third place, and even in the middle of the field, it's still a duel of drivers side by side trying to find their way forward. Currently, the biggest mover of the race is only back in 16th position, where Nick Holland in the 68 machine has been trying to make this Mountain Dew move forward.
And trying to move forward, but I mean, the issue is he's got people side by side in front of him. You've got John and Bill Dart side by side. You got Hugel and Chavez side by side in front of him, and just nowhere to go for Nick Holland. You can see him searching for a line to try to figure out how to get by some of these trucks in front of him. He's got Zach Hall, Kyle Carpenter right behind him, along with Cole Sacchetti, Jonathan Casebeer, and all these drivers seem stacked up on top of one another because nobody's really going forward, and they're just kind of stuck driving in line, just waiting for a move to happen.
Into lap number 6, and still this packet aspect of racing, drivers trying to pick and choose where to go. Some are going to be choosing even higher lanes. It's different progressive banking the drivers are trying to work with. Certainly a lot that the drivers are aiming for with the different seams that they have to search and find their aspect of racing. It seems like the inside lane much more preferred for the majority of this group.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is where you're going to see a lot of these guys migrate to eventually in this race. Easiest on the tires, the quickest way around the track. You can use that outside line to your advantage to get a little bit of a run on somebody if the inside line checks up just a tad bit. We're on board with Nick Holland as he's trying to use that outside line to get around the 30 of Charles Hugel, and you can see the run he gets down the back straightaway on the 99 here of John Dart. Try to use the outside line again in 3 and 4 to see if he can get another run as everybody's now moved to the bottom apart from that 68 of Holland. And look at the run he's going to get here. Sam now going for the 9 of Brian as well.
That'll be 3 wide for these drivers in the middle of the field trying to take this 12th place position. As Nick Holland able to sneak ahead and continues to move forward. You can see the 42. That is going to be Cole Sacchetti trying to find an opening on the outside lane. He'll be stopped by the 9. The fill-in driver of Brian Cole doing his best to be up front and staying close to this lead pack, as really finding these drivers that are finding that little bit of extra speed. Is almost contact there of going to be Charles Hugel and Sacchetti. You're starting to see drivers picking and choosing the aggression levels because they know track position is so important, or stage break at the end of lap 40. But is tire wear going to be a big factor like we're seeing these drivers attacking?
You know, we were talking about it pre-race. The fuel run only that of about 47 laps solo. So, I mean, the stage break is going to be almost a full fuel run. So you can be aggressive and try to get up and get a little bit of track position, but it might come back to haunt you as this run progresses if we don't get a caution before our stage break, where you burn up your tires a little bit too soon and start falling back and lose all that track position you gain. So some of these guys further on back, like Zach Hall, Casebeer, and Carpenter, who are just kind of riding, slowly working their way through the back or from the back, might have an advantage over some guys like Nick Holland and Cole Sacchetti, who are being a little bit more aggressive here early on.
Fighting their way forward is a lot of these drivers. As move up to 11th place, see Ryan Lynch as he's following in suit with Nick Holland, who continues to push forward, now up 12 positions from where he started. And a driver that's found himself into victory lane here in the only season that we ran the trucks previous to this was back in season 2. And Chris Stitz found himself into victory lane as he had to beat out one of the strongest drivers of Travis Dart at that time. With 17, certainly something that we know can get into victory lane and can be very strong, but right now being held up by the 18 of Austin Call and the 2-time champ of Cameron Sarton.
Yeah, Sarton's been trying to get around this 18 of Austin Call for a couple laps. Finally got to the inside of him, but still hasn't quite cleared the 18. Now finally going to clear him. It's going to have a look to the outside of Nick Holland, but I think he's going to get hung up here again, stuck behind the 18 of Austin Call. Almost a little bit of contact between Holland and Austin as these trucks are really wiggling around through the center of the corner as they go over the bumps in 1 and 2. But Stitt's going to have a really good run down the backstretch with a little bit of a push from the 3 of Ryan Lynch to try to clear this 68, but they're still going to be side by side through turn number 3.
Side by side, trying to move their way forward, and other drivers trying to make some moves. The battle up front, the top three drivers have really started to try to gap themselves from the rest of the field, and it's Andrew Medlin trying to move his way past Will Bustler and get the Freaky Fast Racing teammates in line. We've seen this, Trevor, for almost a month and a half, as you see Andrew Medlin on screen, working this 12 machine. He was fighting to make his way into the playoffs, got bounced out last week, was not able to get into victory lane and hold off all the drivers that tried to point their way into the playoffs. And this 12, now a defender, helping out his teammate at this moment, being a buffer between himself of Ken Campbell and Will Bustler.
Yeah, it's kind of a role reversal from what we saw starting all the way back at, I believe it was Pocono, where it was Campbell trying to be the rear gunner for Andrew Medlin, and it never worked out for Ken. He always got involved in an incident, and then Medlin, through pit strategy, couldn't get a race victory. And Medlin being so close last week at Talladega, just coming up with an incident out of turn number 4 and getting knocked out by Jonathan Casebeer. Now it's Medlin starting to be the rear gunner, and maybe with the roles reversed, maybe the luck's going to get reversed for these two drivers.
Eventually, as you're right on board with Andrew Medlin here, you can see his hands working in real life to the bottom right as well in sim. In sim, this is what the majority of the drivers see if they have a single monitor. For Medlin, he's got 3 monitors, so he's able to see a little bit on his left, a little bit on his right, and currently right now, hitting his marks, trying to stay low at the white line, staying in line with his teammate. That's a clean lap by Andrew Medlin.
It's a clean lap, and you can see how smooth the hands were in 3 and 4. But watch him down here into 1 and 2. Watch when he hits these bumps, how much he has to work this wheel, but you're going to go a little bit high. You can see it shaking his hands, shaking the wheel as he goes over those bumps, trying to keep that truck straight and stay in tow with his teammate, Ken Campbell.
A little bit higher than last time by all 3 drivers are rushing from above. The top 3 having a little bit of a higher apex, going into the corner and staying high. Very interesting to see how these trucks are already evolving on how you want to run this race. I see some other drivers in tow trying to catch up to our top 3. Ross Statham, Joshua Altus. Altus was a major factor helping out Jonathan Casebeer and working with Ambush Racing drivers throughout the season. Was a fill-in driver for the first half of the regular season, then became a full-time driver, and currently having a decent run as, oh no, driver goes down low, slow and falling back. That's Bill Dart filling in for Lyle Christensen, the 52. Scary scenes there for himself as he falls from that of 15th place all the way down to last.
Yeah, I think he just got loose out of turn number 2 there, and did a great job hanging on to it. Didn't hit the wall, but lost a lot of track position. Goes from that, like you said, 15th all the way back to 24th, so 9 spots lost for him just in that little bit. Oh, it's contact between that of Lynch, the 18 of Austin Call. John Dart gets a little bit sideways, a big bump to Brian Cole from the 30 of Charles Hugel in the middle of the field, but everybody keeps it straight, but damage to the rear end of one of our playoff drivers, of John Dart in the 99.
Huge runs were going on there. Everyone's starting to stack up on top of one another, and you can see a slight bend in the center of that. Actually, it's on the left side of the 99. That damage, how much is it going to influence himself moving forward? Because that is a pretty nasty crinkle the 99 has on that rear left side.
I'm not sure how much it's going to affect him. I mean, it's going to hurt him a little bit, but I don't know how bad it's going to hurt him. Thankfully, it's not nose damage for the 99, so it's not going to make the truck too tight or be down on power, but handling wise, it might affect him, and we could see that 99 start to struggle.
Other drivers have some bad rear end damage. The 9 machine of Brian Cole, and losing the majority of that ground, other playoff contender of Christopher Wade, who's now trying to make his push on the outside lane for the 53. Certainly, this has been Christopher Wade, kind of a crux he's been having for the majority of the second half of the regular season, is some poor finishes of not really looking competitive up front week in and week out. And I was kind of concerned to see some of these playoff drivers that we've seen do well in the first half of the season, then kind of fall off. Can they find that mojo to get themselves up front and competitive as we hit the halfway marker of our stage break, as we are coming to our stage again at the end of lap 40?
It's going to be interesting to see if Wade can get that pace back. I mean, he ran well at the start of the season, got the win there at Eldora on the dirt, and then since then it's kind of just been in cruise control for the rest of the season, and hasn't really been aggressive. We haven't seen him be aggressive as we typically are used to seeing him. So for Wade, really got to turn it on coming in that I mean, he's in the top 12 right now, Sam, but I mean, running where he is right now, it's not looking good for him if he wants to move on to the next round.
No, it's not. Driver that's looking very good right now, though. Let's give it to the 21 of Ross Tatum. He is flying right now, as well as other drivers in the middle of the pack that are inside of the top 10. Chris Stitz, as well as Cole Sacchetti, Nick Holland. These three drivers have been advancing in positions. The biggest ones have been Nick Holland and Cole Sacchetti. But these three drivers in tow, 8th, 9th, and 10th place. This is massive for them to have some great points here today for that Nick Holland and Chris Stitz that need to continue to move forward.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see Stitz running well and being quick. I mean, he won at Kansas, kind of a similar track to that of Vegas, and so not at all surprised to see Stitz having a good run. And going back to the 21 of Ross Tatum, I mean, won here last season, same in the Xfinity car to win the championship, so not at all surprised to see Ross having run down our race leaders. And then Cole Sacchetti, I mean, you can't count him out. You can't count him out at all, no matter what track we go to. He's got speed. Just unfortunate that you had to sit out for the playoffs. Otherwise, I think that 42 would be a title contender.
I think an easily Final Four favorite to make it to that point. It was going to be difficult to try to beat out some of the other drivers for a championship. It was looking good. Driver that knows how to get championships done. The 24 of Cameron Sarton. Been not a terrible season, you could say, but it's been a kind of an odd season for this 42. It's looking for the first win, currently in 7th place, but with the amount of points that I think 24 has, not the worst day in the world to come away with 7th place, get some bonus points, and continue to build a gap to head into next week, because the Indianapolis road course, our next destination, completely different for a lot of these drivers. I think it's going to be one of the first times I get to call trucks running at that course.
Yeah, I think it's the I haven't personally been on that track, Sam. I know it's not a track that a lot of the NASCAR guys ever run on unless you're running the oval. Typically the GT3 cars, that's a place that they go to, so I'm not sure how much experience some of these guys have. So getting as many points you can here tonight, whether it be playoff bonus points or just points in general from where you finish, I think is going to be key for a lot of these guys heading into next week.
Driver that is in some concern, Kyle Carpenter, came down into this race as the lowest in points out of anyone, and he is needing a good points day, but currently the last driver running of our playoff drivers out there on track. He's trying to make a recovery run of some factor. This 77 is not looking confident as he's running around Nick Gould, Jonathan Woods, trying to catch up to John Dart, Jonathan Case-Beer, as well as Christopher Wade, 14, 15, and 16 are those drivers. And certainly the playoffs, the way that they were set up, there were so many winners this season. It came down to just 3 positions. They're going to point your way in. Jonathan Case-Beer was able to steal the last spot after winning last week at Talladega in a heroic charge. And excited to see what the 8's going to bring, especially with how quick he was looking at practice. Kind of disappointed they missed out on qualifying, but it's going to be a hard job to get it done, to get up front for this 8. But I wouldn't be surprised. Our Cinderella story of Case-Beer could surprise us with some of the speed he's got.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, already up 10 spots from where he qualified. I mean, where he started. Technically didn't qualify, but up to that of 15th position. So doing well to get through the field as this run has progressed. And I think once he gets to the stage, we get everybody stacked back up. We could see that 8 machine really start to make some moves and get up inside our top 10.
Zach Hall, usually in the booth here at Rickcast Broadcasting throughout the week. Well, on track, you look at the regular season, one of the biggest favorites to watch out for. This 32 machine had the most wins out of anyone, had the most top 5s out of anyone, and now here tonight, looking to be one of the big favorites to make it to our Final Four. But he's outside of the top 10, but luckily comes into this race with a 16-point buffer because of all those wins, all the playoff points that this 32 accumulated throughout the season. Even if he doesn't get stage points, Zach Hall is still in a fabulous spot heading into next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as he can finish top 10, this week and next week, he'll be perfectly fine to get into the next round, starting at Atlanta Super Speedway. But Sam, still thinking about it. Zach, technically, if you look at the stats, not due to win again this season. So that 32, if he wants to win this championship, I think he's going to have to break the stats book and get a win here.
And whenever his win streaks end, you look at the stats, it even carries into last season when Zach Hall first started racing in the Full Send Racing Series. Each break from when he stops winning to his next win was around 8 races, which means we didn't have 8 races in between our last win for Zach Hall to the championship race. It could carry on into next season, which is a wild stat to think of that you never really predict could happen. Way the 32 is going to break that curse that he has so far as he's caught up to the wall of Nick Holland as well as Ryan Litch. And I think the 68, those tires might have burnt off. He was so aggressive in the early 20 laps, and the 68 machine is now going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, starting to fall back. Chris Stitz was able to get around him. Ryan Lynch gets around him, but tags the wall just a little bit going into 3 and 4. Thankfully, it doesn't look like he received any damage from that. Zach Hall now going to go around the outside of the 68 of Holland. As Holland really starting to fall through the field. Zach's trying to move up, see if he can snag himself one playoff point, but got to get around that 3 of Ryan Lynch or the 17 of Chris Stitz, depending on how this battle is going to play out in front of him.
Who's going to steal these positions and where to go? It's Ryan Lynch. This is a very competitive 3 machine that we're seeing right now. Excited to see that he's kind of developed the way that Ryan Lynch has this season. From past seasons that we've seen the 3 where he might be one of the back markers, maybe fighting for the middle of the field. This season, we've seen sparks and shines of the 3 developing as a driver, getting faster throughout the weeks. It's been a joy to watch, currently in 10th place, and fighting with Chris Stitz, one of the favorites for the fight for a championship, but he gets into the wall, went too fast, too strong, and the 3 all backfires in an instant.
Stitz just got a little bit tight there and forced the 3 up into the outside wall, and it's going to be hard right side damage for Ryan Lynch. I think that's going to dash any hopes that he had of getting a top 10 here tonight. So I'll have to get that repaired on pit road. Zach Hall going to take advantage of that, though, and get around the 17 of Chris Stitz. So move Hall up into 9th and getting a couple of points here, Sam, in this before the stage break.
1 point, now moving up to potentially getting 2 points in 9th place. Now will be aiming to try to catch up to Cole Sketty, but the laps are ticking away and position starting to be gained as up front finish shift in 2nd position. Will Bustler is taking back 2nd. Andrew Metlin is falling back to 3rd place. Ross Tatum setting up to make that pass for 3rd. Cole Sketty in 8th position. He's got a battle in front of him. It's Travis Dart and Cameron Sarton right on top of one another.
And Sarton just got around Travis, but Travis, Sam, I got to say, I'm impressed with this 26 machine. Yeah, he lost the lead in the first 3 laps of the race, but did a good job holding on up here for as long as he has. Typically, we've seen that 26 machine, when he starts up front, fall outside the top 10 before we get to the stage break. Right now, though, Travis doing a great job holding on here to 7th, getting closed in by that 42 of Cole Sketty.
These cookie cutter 1.5-mile tracks is where we've seen the 26 have some of his best finishes. His best finish so far this season was Michigan with a 5th place finish, but he got 7th at Charlotte and as well 9th at Kansas. Looking for another great run is that Travis Dart. As Cole Sketty continues to try to make his way forward as drivers up front for the battle for the lead certainly starting to close in. Will Bustler running faster than our leader the last couple of laps and now right on the back bumper. Will he be able to make a final strike with 3 laps to go in the stage?
Right there on the bumper of the 15 to King Campbell. Going to look a little bit high, see if he can get a better run here out of turn number 2 down this backstretch. Use the draft help that he gets from the 15 to try to set him up here in 3 and 4, but just going to have to stay in line. And right here, going to use a little bit higher of an entry point, kind of arc it down. Actually going to stay up the racetrack, see if he can keep the momentum up in that 1 machine, but lose a little bit of time on corner exit to Ken Campbell.
As these drivers are making these pit stops, an interesting call as we are now 2 laps to go in the stage. Jonathan Woods comes into pit road, takes 4 tires and fuel, going to be going 1 lap down as he will not be able to make it to the end of this stage. Driver should be good on fuel. An interesting call by the 2 machine, though, as he'll be starting the back of the line as he should be getting the lucky dog once the yellow flag comes out. As we're coming to the white flag of our stage, top 10 drivers get bonus points. And right now, Nick Holland is trying to fight to get himself into 10th, but it doesn't look like it's going to stick. Instead, Will Bustler, he'll be trying to fight to get the maximum amount of points, which the 1 needs, as he will come in 11th in points here tonight.
Well, Bustler came in 1 point behind that of Jonathan Woods, and with Woods being a lap down, and Bustler getting what could potentially be the max stage points or that of 9 stage points here. I mean, it's going to be a good points stage here for Will Bustler. He wasn't quite able to get past the 15. Ken Campbell going to have to settle for second in the stage, but I think Will Bustler is going to be pretty happy with that, Sam.
At turn number 4, as we wait for 10th place across the line, that's going to be Chris Stitz in the 17. Yellow flag is out. And that is the end of the stage here at Las Vegas for the first race of the playoffs. And certainly gave us a great show of drivers mixing it in between those first 20 laps. Very chaotic on where they were going to be. Then the tire wear started to show. And it's Ken Campbell taking the lead early from that Travis Dart and never looked back. Led the most laps so far here tonight and will be our stage winner. We're expecting to talk to him after pit stops are done. But man, Trevor, was that an exciting first 40 laps of this race?
It was a great first 40 laps of the race. Interesting call by Jonathan Woods, though, to bring that machine down pit road before pits closed and put himself a lap down. Not sure what he was doing there, but a lot of movement that we saw in that stage. I mean, Cole Sacchetti up 15 spots, Zach Hall up 11, Nick Holland up 11 spots before, I think he was up more than that before the tires fell off of that 68 machine, but a lot of movers working their way to the front of the field, and we should be set up for a really good second half of this race.
It certainly should be a good one as drivers are slowing down as they're about to make their entry into pit road. Again, Jonathan Woods, a very interesting call by the two, deciding to come into pit road a lap before pit road closed. And he'll take a wave around most likely. And I think for the two, he was hoping that he'd be able to make the pit stop and stay in front of the leaders and stay on the lead lap so then he could have better track position moving forward. Instead, it backfires. He'll be at the end of the line as we'll see our stage winner. How does he enter pit road, and will there be any mistakes to cost him positions here?
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times on these pit stops. Drivers sliding through their box. Yeah, Campbell looks like he gets in. Oh, Bustler slides through his box, though, has to back up. It's going to be a couple seconds lost for Will, as I think he's still not quite in the box, but now finally in and now getting service underway. But those are the kind of mistakes you cannot have, Sam, on these pit stops. It's going to cost him a couple of positions.
Will Bustler, how far down the list will he go? As Ken Campbell going to be coming out that at first, Andrew Medlin second, and Will Bustler will fall just one position. But man, could that have been worse for the machine? And a wide slew of drivers from 16th all the way down to 23rd, still in pit road. Extended repairs being made for a majority of the drivers. A couple of them playoff drivers going to be in pit road for extended time. Ross Tatum's in pit road for extended time, as well as Cameron Sarton. And oh my goodness, crazy to see how far they have fallen through the field. And track position, we touched on it, so important. But now they're going to have to see how this race is going to conclude, as we're actually going to see if we can pull in our leader right now, our stage winner, which is going to be Ken Campbell. What a run that he got to have here tonight for that of the 15 machine, as he was one of the drivers that we knew could be quick. And now let's queue up the 15. Ken Campbell, it's Sam and Trevor up the booth. You got us?
I got you.
Well, you come away with the stage win. You started second, got the lead, never looked back. Man, how are you feeling? How's the track feeling right now?
It's feeling really good. I knew that clean air was going to be just a huge difference maker, and so I wanted to get out in front as early as I could, and trying to give Will as much dirty air as I could. I was surprised he was catching me as fast as he was there at the end. I noticed he was running a little bit higher, and so that may be something I need to look at and coming up in the next stage. But yeah, the clean air is key here.
I mean, Ken, we see it. We've seen it before. We see it now, but the roles reverse. You've got Medlin right behind you, kind of acting as a rear gunner. I mean, is that the kind of the strategy call from the team tonight? Is have Andrew kind of as a backseat gunner for you, or is it just kind of race it out and see what happens?
No, we're just racing it out and seeing what's happened. Medlin's doing his own thing racing. I think there's something for non-playoff guys to race for, and so he's wanting to bring his best effort in. And he was just pushing up, and he was able to split up Ross and Will. I was worried about them. And then once he got in front of that, we were kind of communicating back and forth there. But no, he's getting everything he can get.
Well, Ken, is there anything surprising that you're feeling right now in the truck, or is everything just smooth sailing at this point?
It's pretty much smooth sailing right now. Like I said, I was surprised that Will was catching me because I thought I was saving out front and had clean air. And so I don't know quite what was going on there. But yeah, we'll just have to look and see. But for the most part, it's what we expected.
Well, Ken, we'll send you back to your teams. We're about to go back to Green Flag Racing. But good luck and congratulations on being the stage winner.
Appreciate it.
Well, as we get ourselves prepared, space car lights are off. We're going this time by. Trevor, anything that you found interesting about that conversation that we just had?
No, pretty much what I thought. Clean air, like you said, clean air is going to be king. For these guys, and I think Ken's going to try to do his best to get around Andrew Medlin on this restart and get that clean air again. But Sam, what I did notice under pit stops, playoff implications, that of Cameron Sarton got into the back of Ross Tatum, going into the pit stalls, did the 21 machine, and so heavy damage to the front of the 24 and the rear of the 21.
That makes sense on why they were in pit road for extended time. It was so bizarre to see why they were in pit road, but looking back at the 24's front bumper, you can see the extensive damage as we're about to get ourselves back to green flag racing. It's going to be the teammates front row for Andrew Medlin, Ken Campbell. How will they release on this attack? Can Will Bustler fight back as there's no more stage racing? It's all about taking us to the end. And it is time. Pace car going to make the hard left-hander pit road. Here we go. It's in the hands of Ken Campbell to get back to green flag racing for the Impact Sim Design 200 at Las Vegas as we are green heading down into turn number 1. It's the 15 already clear from his teammate as they're in line. The 3 of these drivers, teammates, all together as Zach Hall now up front.
Zach Hall had a really good pit stop there. Now up in the front is Joshua Alta is not going to waste any time getting around that 12 of Andrew Medlin. Dives it to the inside. Almost had him cleared down the back straightaway. We're going to have to try to hold it here to the bottom. Keep it pinned wide open. See if he can clear the 12 of Medlin. Medlin going to try to use that outside line to fight back on this 94 machine. They're going to be side-by-side off of turn number 4 and side-by-side right behind them between Bustler and Zach Hall.
What are going to be the differences that drivers start to find stage racing? Usually is the moment where you get to learn a lot. Some drivers like to be very patient at first stint. Others like to be aggressive. And then after that stage break, you see the opposite. Drivers that are being passive start to be aggressive. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Joshua Altis. Inside lane for the 94. Will Bustler trying to follow in suit. And Ken Campbell trying to defend 2 lanes at once as the 15's doing it just perfectly.
Doing what he needs to do to block the momentum from both lanes. Joshua got a little bit loose, though, as he clipped the apron out of turn number 4. Thankfully keeps it off the 12 of Medlin. That battle's still going to be side-by-side for second. They're still going to be side-by-side for 4th and 5th right behind them with Bustler and Zach Hall, as nobody really has an advantage over anybody, and Campbell trying to give a little bit of draft help to his teammates.
Trying to help out as it's 3 pretty fast racing drivers in line on the outside groove. And then it's Joshua Altis, Will Bustler, and Cole Sacchetti about to get into the mix here. Turn this race into a 6-horse one as it's going to be Ken Campbell leading still up front. But this is that pack racing that we were expecting to see. But Joshua Altis finally getting a nose to the quarter panel. The 94 aggressively back to the throttle at the center of the corner. Altis trying to fight back as they drag strip their way into turn number 3.
What a great battle we have going on up here for the lead. The 94 doing everything he can on the bottom to get this lead away from the 15 machine. Going to send it down through 3 and 4 again. They're going to be side by side. Altis with a little bit of advantage coming out of turn number 4, but Campbell's going to have a little bit better run down the front straightaway, and the help from all his teammates behind him as Bustler's not close enough to give any kind of help to that 94 machine heading down into turn number 1.
But it's the entry in the center of 1 and 2 where we're seeing the advantage of the 94 be the biggest, as that's where he's keeping it close. But it's everywhere else on track where Ken Campbell's just able to maximize the speed on the straightaways with a run on the outside. That's what's keeping this battle at bay as the 15 continues the lead lap after lap. But that outside wall starting to sneak up a little bit more as Ken Campbell tries to keep his foot in the throttle.
They do not want to get in that outside wall and get any damage. We've seen how detrimental it's been in other races and already drivers with damage here tonight. So definitely don't want to have that being in the playoffs as Campbell gets a little bit tight, has to back out of it just a little bit, but still going to have enough momentum here down the back straightaway to finally clear the 94. But Altis again just going to ship it in on the bottom and try to keep it side by side with Ken Campbell. Medlin still trying to get help to his teammate, push him clear this 94 machine.
I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself by saying this, but I think the drive to watch out for could be the 42 later on in the long run. But the battling that's going on side by side for our top 5 right now of seeing all the freaking fast drivers on the outside lane, keeping their foot in the throttle, using up those tires maybe a little bit more. The drivers on the inside really working their tires just to keep pace. It's the 42 of Cole Sacchetti that's kind of been picking whatever lane he feels like is the most comfortable. He's keeping himself right in the mix and waiting for openings to make these passes, and I think he's finally found it. Outside lane's moving, and that's where the 42's heading.
Yeah, Cole just has had that opportunity to kind of watch and see how this battle's going to play out in front of him, as it looks like Campbell and Medlin finally able to clear the 94. Zach Hall going to be the next one to try to clear Joshua down the back straightaway, as he's going to have a little bit of help out from behind from that 42 of Cole Sacchetti, who's now cleared the one of Will Bustler. He's going to try to use this outside line to get past the 94, but it looks like Joshua's still doing a really good job on that inside line. He's actually going to keep clear of that 32 machine and tuck into third place.
Ducks in line, keeping that front bumper behind and putting the dirty air on Zach Hall. Going to be the ultimate goal. Slow down all these drivers as much as you can. Altis sets himself up. Everyone getting back in line. It's going to be Will Bustler, the biggest loser from that restart. He was all the way back at the end of the stage in second, was climbing and fighting with our leader. Now falls back to 6th place and was potentially about to lose more. But now with everyone in line, it's all about the drivers that just saved their tires. How do you set up? As we were just green for over 10 laps. Now it's time to see what those tires look like for the rest of this run. So we were given the number around 47 to 50 laps as an expected zone. And so we expect pit stops, which is going to put us around lap 100 to 105.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with these guys, especially with Joshua Altis in that of Will Bustler, with how hard they were battling on the bottom, what that tire was going to be like. Even for Ken Campbell and that of Andrew Medlin, who were, having to fight on the outside, that can take a lot of life out of the tires as well. So for those 4 drivers, what's that tire wear going to look like, and who's going to benefit from it? Will Sacchetti have the advantage? Will Zach Hall have an advantage? And you can't look too far behind them. I mean, Travis Dart and Christopher Wade, have worked their way up there into the top 10 and are just kind of lurking back there in 7th and 8th position.
I mean, Christopher Wade, do you think, I feel like he does this almost every start of the race, maybe not as strong as he was hoping for, but the end of the race, you always got to watch out to see where the rebound's going to be for himself. A driver that's got 4 top 5s, 6 top 10s before last week's race at Talladega, and he's got the 1 win at Eldora, but at these 1.5-mile tracks, he got a 4th place finish at Kansas, looking for another top 5 finish if possible.
Looking good. I mean, we were talking about him earlier, Sam running in the back of the field and not looking like he was showing any speed, but now after that stage break, maybe learned a little something on how to take care of these tires or find a quicker way around the racetrack, and now up inside the top 10, hanging on to the tail end of this league draft here. But he's got right behind him Nick Holland. We saw Holland be aggressive. Chris Stitz, Austin Call, Jonathan K-Spears worked his way up into 12th and trying to catch up to the back of this pack. So a lot of contenders right behind this 53 truck. So if he makes a mistake, could see him lose a couple of positions.
Let's see Jonathan K-Spear at the tail end of this pack with that Kyle Carter and John Dart settling in with where they're at. And honestly, not the worst place to be, because there's also another cluster of playoff drivers that are mired back over 2 and almost 3 seconds off of that lead group. It's Ross Tatum with Jonathan Woods as well as Cameron Sard, all the drivers that had to stay in pit road for extended time. Jonathan Woods decided to pit early before the stage was over, so we had to start all the way back at the tail end of this group. But the damage that we are seeing from these drivers from those pit stops is showing. You see the rear end damage on the 21, but the bigger one, it's got to be the 18th runner of Cameron Sard, where the rear end damage came from. That 24's front bumper looks nasty right now.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the story of Cameron's season. I mean, been fast, and then just simple mistakes that are self-inflicted, Sam, that's taken this 24 out of contention. We've seen it numerous times here tonight at Vegas, saw it back at Charlotte, and a couple of other instances this season where he's taken himself out of contention for good finishes by just simply making a simple mistake.
Woods got damage to the front bumper, was after rear-ending into Ross Tatum under our stage break yellow pit stop. The drivers assumed that they were going to be able to phase through one another. They didn't. Contact was made and had to stay in pit road for extended time, over 20 seconds longer in pit road. But Cameron Sarton had to stay in. Ross Tatum had to stay an extra 15 seconds. And just small little aero damages with how aero dependent this track is. It's big losses for both of those drivers. You see the rear end damage of the Monster and Coke being squished in on the rear bumper.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. Ross, it looks kind of similar to that of what John Dart had, but I don't think Dart's is as significant as the rear end damage here to Ross. And so Ross really struggling all the way back here in that of 16th position behind Sam Siegel. And they're about 3 to 4 seconds off the tail end of that of the 99 of John Dart.
And you saw there, the damage that we saw John Dart grab was focused majoritively on that of the left rear bumper, and you can now only see just a tiny little crinkle as his crew did a great job repairing that 99 machine that's keeping him in the lead group. 14th place right now for John Dart. Jonathan Casebeer in that of 13th, but Kyle Carpenter probably the biggest swing from stage 1 to now the 77 in 12th place. What a recovery run. He didn't get the stage points that are necessary, but if he gets a good finish at the end of the day, that is all that matters to set up going into next week at the road course.
I feel like that's kind of been Kyle Carpenter's season, though, Sam. If you think about it, we'll watch him, and he's back there, 17th, 18th, back half of the field, and then we get to the stage break, and then after that, he's running up there top 10, top 5. Pocono almost got the win, so really uses those stage breaks to his advantage to learn what he can and can't do to the race truck out there, and then makes up for it in the second half of the race.
I mean, Kyle Carpenter, throughout this season, he's gotten that of 1 top 5, which was at Auto Club where he finished second there, almost be able to beat out John Dart. And then he's got a slew of top 10 finishes. His best one was 6th place at Michigan. Then he got 7th at Homestead. But the one that I've got circled is 8th place at Watkins Glen. A strong performance at a road course, which again, all you need is just a decent run here tonight and a strong performance next week, and you can find yourself in the next round, especially with the struggles we're seeing from some of the top dogs that needed some good runs. I mean, Cameron Sargent only had a 4-point buffer over that of some of these drivers, and that means with seeing Cameron Sargent only back into 18th, Jonathan Wood struggling, Ross Tatum struggling, and Kyle Carpenter keeping it close with Casebeer and John Dart. 77 is in a good run. It's Will Bustler we see here in the lead group. It is certainly chaotic, but a yellow flag strikes, and it's Jonathan Casebeer caught up in this one.
Contact between Casebeer and John Dart. So 2 more playoff drivers, Sam, with more issues here tonight. And Vegas just being unpredictable with what could happen to our playoff drivers.
We are going to try to get the replay up of this one. This caution lies just in a spot where they're still going to have to do one more pit stop after this wreck that comes out. Man, does it get closer and closer? They're going to be about 15 laps shy from taking this race to the end. And pit stops are going to be very important as drivers have already used 1 set of tires. They've got 4 sets if needed. And that of Jonathan Woods is going to give him a chance to get back into the fight for the 2 machine as well. The drivers that have damage allows them to get more of that repairs done. Here's what brought up the caution. And Trevor, I mean, interesting driving styles here by the 8 and the 99.
Yeah, I think Casebeer just went for a really aggressive arc, and John probably wasn't expecting it. And with the arc really kind of checked up the 8, and John Dart just kind of ran over the back of him there. Doesn't look too terribly bad for Casebeer. Luckily for him, able to not, didn't back it into the wall, was able to save it really well. The front end looks pretty straight. More kind of worried about the front end, the right front there for the 99 of John Dart. I mean, we saw him get all the rear end damage fixed, but now he's got to work on the front end of that truck, and the front end, Sam, on these things, so aero sensitive that could really hurt him for the rest of this race.
Yeah, and with John Dart, with the amount of carnage he's already been having to deal with, incredible to see that he's still in a reasonable spot as drivers making their pit stops, exiting as quickly as they can. Some just taking fuel, others taking a fuel and tires. As fighting now, Ken Campbell wins out of pit road. Andrew Medlin going to be in that. A second, third goes to Joshua Altus. Zach Hall, 4th, 5th is Cole Sketty, and Will Bustler 6th. Pretty much everyone's staying at where they at when they came into pit road. And with our second caution of the day at close to the halfway marker, we are actually going to step aside and take our first commercial break of this evening. As when we come back, we'll take you to the end of the first race of the round of 12 for the Impact Sim Designs 200 here at Las Vegas for the Full Send Racing Series. Thank you for watching with us on your Tuesday night on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
And we are back to Green Flag Racing for the Impact Sim Zats 200 for the Full Send Racing Series, the round of 12, back underway after a couple of weird wrecks that have gone around. It is all Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, Andrew Medlin in line up front as Joshua Altis tries to fight on the inside, but with no draft assistance, it's kind of a losing battle at this time. My name is Sam Dyers. Oh no! Altis, a big slide, almost comes up into the field. He's still trying to hold on into pit road. Is the 94 as he throws away an opportunity. We stay green. And what a scare at the beginning of this race. Those loose tires kick in. Woo! Well, my name is Sam Dyer. I got Trevor Earhart with me. And Trevor, what a scare there.
I mean, that could have been huge for everybody at the front end of the field, but Sam, we noted on the start of the broadcast, cold tires, turn 3 and 4, it can be tricky, and right there was a perfect example, but I got to give, credit to Joshua Altis there. Did a great job saving that truck to the best of his ability, spun it down pit road, we stay green, but unfortunate for the 94, who looked pretty quick here tonight.
Looked like he was going to be a threat for a top 5 finish. We'll throw it away. New driver going to be the threat for the top 5. It's the 42, Cole Sicchetti, biggest mover of the race, up 19 positions. He has been climbing through the field with Zach Hall, and now the 42 setting himself up to be one of the threats up front. Nick Holland's back into the mix. Will Bustler as well, all up front, trying to figure out how do you beat the teammates as Altis goes a lap down for the 94.
Yeah, they can get around that 94 machine who's not only got damaged, but I think has to serve maybe a black flag. No, it looks like they got that penalty cleared for him for wrecking down pit road, but everybody gets by. But right now, Sacchetti trying to use that outside line to clear that 12 machine of Andrew Medlin. Medlin looks a little bit loose, and here comes the one of Will Bustler trying to take advantage.
Will Bustler trying to find his way to get by all of this carnage because he found himself dirty air. Really was hurting those tires on that last run, hoping that maybe he could find a little bit of a better run this go around, keep himself in the mix, and continue to fight as currently right now our top 8, keeping it very neat and tidy with one another. Top 8 all within 4/10 of one another, nose to tail all the way through with a little bit of 2x2, 3 rows deep. As Zach Hall, being the defensive warrior at this moment, trying to hold off that of Cole Sacchetti.
Trying to block that 42 machine. Sacchetti looking really good on that outside line, though. Question is, we saw it, a little bit early in that last run, the two of Ken Campbell and Andrew Medlin. Almost a little bit of contact between Medlin and Sacchetti running that outside line, and didn't get to really see what it was going to do to their tires, but Cole Sacchetti not afraid to be aggressive, as now Nick Holland's going to dive it to the inside of the 12 of Andrew Medlin for third, as those two battle it out coming out of turn number 2.
And we go back to stage racing, the first 20 laps of the race. The fastest driver, the fastest average was willing to climb through the field. It was the 68 of Nick Holland. No fear is in the eyes of himself, but it's the long run that we have a little bit of concern about. Well, we don't have to worry about the long run for at least 12 more laps. So for Nick Holland, it is go, 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 and figure out how to break up our top 3 currently.
Yeah, and right behind him, Will Bustler, he dropped it to the inside of the 42 of Cole Sacchetti. He was out to the outside line, but tries to go underneath now. Follow that 68, use him as a spearhead to get up, try to get up there to the lead, but looks like that of Nick Holland really kind of struggling here on this bottom line as he still tries to get by the 12 of Andrew Medlin, as they've been side by side now for the last 2 laps.
Side by side, keeping it close with one another. And something I'm starting to notice is Zach Hall having a little bit of a wider arc, entering pit, entering that of the corners. 32's got to be careful because it continues at that arcing motion. 68's bumper could be right there, and there it is. Was not able to make the arcing turn, and now Nick Holland side by side for second place.
We saw this. Joshua Altus was able to get up to that of side by side with Ken Campbell, wasn't able to pass it. Will the 68 machine be able to not only get by the 32 of Zach Hall, but get up there side by side with Campbell and get clear of that 15 machine, get into that clean air? But you can see behind him, though, Will Bustler struggling to work his way forward as he hasn't been able to clear that 42 of Cole Sacchetti, as Holland again still works to the inside of the 32 of Zach Hall.
Ken Campbell doing a little bit of mixture on who gets the dirty air, giving a little bit on the beginning portions to the outside lane, then center of the corner, gives the dirty air to the inside, then bounces back up, and it just working both lanes perfectly as Ken Campbell right now trying to get his first ever Las Vegas win in the Full Send Racing Series, as well lock himself into the next round of the Elite 8. Doesn't have to worry about the Indianapolis Road Course next week. If you find yourself in victory lane, you're one of the drivers on our ticker board in blue. Those are your 12 playoff drivers that are fighting along. It's currently top 3 all playoff drivers.
Top three, yeah. And then you got Will Bustler right there, and Chris Stitt's not too far behind him, kind of on the tail end of this little league group here, trying to figure out where he wants to go. As Holland again still doing battle with the 32 of Zach Hall. Bustler, Sacchetti still side by side. Medlin kind of the lone man out, doesn't have anybody really to race side by side with him as he follows in line behind his teammates, trying to help that 32 clear Nick Holland. But Holland, really good run down here into 1 and 2. Zach Hall's going to go wide, a little bit of a wiggle from that 68, and Hall might have him cleared here out of turn number 2.
Trying to figure out how do you make this passes up front. This lead group has been just teamwork and just pure raw aggression by others, as Nick Holland still fighting and clawing to get this position of second place and just continue to work his way forward. But I think he might have hit that plateau as each lap that dwindles away, the more those tires will no longer be there, and that early aggression could backfire. This lead pack going to be our top 8 currently. We saw for a quick second the second pack that is going to be the drivers from 9th place all the way back to 19th. And leading that group going to be the WC in the red, Austin Call, and ducking down low. It's the 77 of Kyle Carpenter, who now moves up into 9th position. A beautiful pass by the 77 of Carpenter.
Yeah, Carpenter did a great crossover move there on Austin Call, got clear of him. The 2 of Jonathan Woods right there, the 53 of that of Christopher Wade there, as well as the Woods trying to recover after his kind of interesting pit call strategy. But Austin Call not going to give up this fight quite that easily, as he's now going to look to the inside of the 77 of Carpenter. They're still going to be side by side here out of turn number 2 as Cole tries to get this position back on Carpenter heading into 3 and 4.
Battle for 9th place is on, and a driver that's getting a little bit more mixy, Jonathan Woods, again, who went with an oddball strategy at the end of the stage, pitting 2 laps before the stage, went a lap down, then was just off strategy from everyone else, kind of needed that last caution to reset, get back on the same strategy as everyone else. Fresh looking 2 machine, seeing a lot of other of his competitors caught up in damage. Jonathan Woods looking for a strong points day as Woods comes in 8th in points. He's that bubble driver, currently tied also with John Dart and Jonathan K-Spear, as the 2 is ahead of both of those drivers. Massive day for Jonathan Woods.
Yeah, just needs to keep that nose clean on that 2 machine. I think he'll be all right, as everybody around him, you know, that was kind of in front of him and behind him in points have had issues. I mean, Cameron Sarton's down there in 15th, Tatum's in 16th. That of Jonathan Woods all the way down in 23rd after his contact with John Dart. I mean, Dart not too far behind that of Jonathan Woods, but we know he's got a little bit of damage to that 99 machine. So the question is, how much is it really going to hurt him? As you can see him right there behind Christopher Wade, Austin Call, as he watches the 2 of Woods battle with the 77 of Kyle Carpenter.
Fighting with Carpenter, trying to keep himself in a position, just gain spots, to be in the best position for if a caution comes out again. And if a caution could come out, it most likely is going to be with the second pack, as some of these drivers have been running very aggressive with one another. But the drivers with the biggest losses, and you can see them kind of fading off in the middle, those 2 drivers in line. Now going to be that Cameron Sarton as well as Ross Tatum in 15th and 16th place, as we're starting to see the second group kind of split up from one another. That damage that we talked about in the stage 1, it is hurting badly for both Ross Tatum and Cameron Sarton.
Yeah, it's kind of just, I think they're going to be kind of stuck here unless something massive happens up in front of them and takes out a couple of other playoff contenders. They're going to have a lot of work to do for themselves if one wants to be a 2-time champion. If one wants to get his 3rd championship, they're going to have a lot of work next week ahead of them at the Indianapolis Road Course, just based off of how tonight's going for them. But thankfully for Ross, though, came in, I believe, 13 points to the good, so had a pretty good buffer. That of Cameron Sarton, not as high of a points buffer, so for him, you're going to have to put in a lot of work for next week in Indianapolis.
Yeah, for that, Cameron Sarton, he only had 4 points to the drivers that were tied for 8th in points, and then all the way back to Kyle Carpenter, that was only a 7-point buffer that those drivers had in between one another, and Carpenter fighting with that 9th place would be enough points to put himself very close to being either tied just behind the 24, going into a road course where we don't know if drivers are going to be having strengths, as we've seen some be very strong at Watkins Glen and then struggle at other road courses, and you're going to a course to be flat, fast, and drivers could get mixy. As Kyle Carpenter and the 2 of Jonathan Woods starting to get mixy here side by side, fighting for 9th place. The lead pack, they are all in line, single filed out. This is the closest and best battle currently on track.
Austin Call's now going to look to the inside of Woods, who spent the last 3 or 4 laps on the inside trying to get around that of Kyle Carpenter. Now Austin Call going to try to go to the inside to see if he can have anything for this 2 machine, but I think that's going to allow Christopher Wade maybe to get a run on the 18 of Austin Call and maybe pick up a position here if he can keep that 18 machine pinned to that inside line.
Keep it pinned, trying to keep it close. And going to be Christopher Wade. Much better run out of the exit of the corner. Watch out for the 53. He'll get by Austin Call. And now Call, I think at this point, he desperately needs to move up. He's just losing too much ground. He's not able to get back to the throttle. These tires are too toasted to keep good momentum. As John Dart now going to be able to get by. Austin Call, though, heading into pit road, and he's going to be the first to be one of our takers, which these drivers, that's something we haven't touched on just yet, have to come into pit road. They do not have the fuel to take it all the way to the end.
Interesting call by Austin to come in this early. I mean, this is going to put him relatively close. He's going to make it, but just an interesting call to come in this early. Not sure if he... what his pit strategy here is, but I mean, a massive undercut, and this could, if there's a caution, Sam, this could play out to the 18's favor.
It very much could. Let's see if we see any other issues blossom. It's a little bit of a longer stop than I think he wanted. Now going to be back under green after moving conditions for the 18. Oh man, a gutsy call. And also, I don't know how I feel about this 100%, because now he's not even going to have to draft truly to help him keep pace. He will have Sam Siegel as well as K-Spear maybe to work with. Those are drivers that are way off the pace. I don't think the 18's going to be worrying about them too much. But up front, starting to see other drivers flirting with passes as Chris Stitz trying to make this move for himself, but Will Bustler not allowing the 17 to advance positioning.
Yeah, he's been trying to get around Nick Holland, who Holland's now kind of, I think, hit that point, Sam, where we saw him be aggressive. Now maybe starting to struggle a little bit. Stitz couldn't get to the inside. That allowed Will Bustler to get to his outside and see if he can get this pass down on Stitz. But look at Stitz. I mean, you see how tight he gets on that bottom and just allows that one of Will Bustler to drive by and now invites the 26 of Travis Dart.
Travis Dart looks smooth and ready to make that pass. Well, we have some people got to give a big thanks to before pit stops get hectic, and that's the major sponsors here of the Full Send Racing Series. First of all, it's the Lap Traffic Podcast. If you want to listen to a quality conversation about many different subjects, go listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast quality that you want to go listen to. As well, ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. One of the best places to go. Instead of hearing sounds, why not feel the sounds? Get yourself a game or two from ButtKicker. And the final sponsor, Next Level Racing. If you get yourself a ButtKicker game or two, you need something to attach it to, so why not get yourself a Next Level Racing rig. Quality as well, not going to be too hard on the budget. Next Level Racing, thank you so much for the major sponsors here at the Full Send Racing Series. And as well, we have something else we got to shout out, and that is here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, something near dear to our heart. We are having our second charity race of the year. We had our first one, which was our Daytona 500 for Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. Well, in June, it is the Gamer Outreach 600, the Gen 4 Cup Cars, high horsepower, slipping and sliding, heading to Charlotte for 400 laps, 600 miles, and all for a great cause, as was our second charity race of the year. And Trevor, I'm so excited for June 10th to come around quickly.
Oh, I cannot wait for it to get here. Got to start putting in some practice laps. I'm going to be running in that, trying to do the Freaky Fast Broadcasters proud there, and see if I can maybe get a win or at least a solid top 5 finish in that race. But definitely going to be one that you want to take part of, or at least tune into. It's going to be so much fun in those high horsepower, low downforce cars around Charlotte for 600 miles. I cannot wait for June 10th to get here.
And as well, if you'd like to participate in racing, it's very simple. All you have to do is go down to our community Discord channel, look at the entry, and all you have to do is donate $5. That's the minimum amount that you have to donate. You can donate more if you would like. $5 minimum donation, as well as there's a little bit of restrictions on the drivers that we're looking for on experience level, but it's all can be found in our community Discord channel. And if you don't have the money to donate, that's okay. You can as well, just as much, sharing the fact that we have this event coming up. That is just as helpful as donating. Thank you to everyone that's already shared, already have donated. Cannot wait for our next charity event. As currently on track, it's Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, Andrew Medlin leading the way over Cole Sacchetti. As it's top 2, Campbell and Hall just pulling away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, they kind of stretched out the lead over their teammate of Andrew Medlin, who doesn't like he quite has the long run speed of his two teammates. We kind of saw it there at the end of the first stage when he fell off of his teammate Kim Campbell, got passed by that of Will Bustler. Cole Sacchetti trying to get by the 12 of Medlin, trying to find his way around, but I think right now it's going to be the 2-horse show between Zach Hall and Kim Campbell.
And Trevor, I mean, this is starting to get to that interesting point where drivers picking and choosing when you know you can't make a pit road. And there's my answer. I was actually just about to ask the question, when would you want to come into pit road? Because we're about 2 laps away from the halfway marker of splitting this last stint in half, and it's going to be Cole Sacchetti, Nick Collin, Chris Stitz, all into pit road. The trio, I like this, coming in as a group. They're going to have the draft to work with one another. And now it's going to be interesting to see what the difference is between those drivers that just pitted and Austin Call that pitted 8 laps ago, as he's going to be trying to blast his way on by. But now for Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, and Andrew Medlin, when do they come into pit road? And Will Bustler that are trying to keep each other close.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I feel like a little early, maybe to make that final pit stop at 34 to go. It makes sense, but the question is, how long is that of Campbell, Zach Hall, Medlin, Bustler, Travis Dart? How long are they going to stay out here? And like you said, what's going to be the speed difference once these guys get up to speed between our race leaders and themselves on fresh tires?
An update on Austin Cole. Again, Austin was about that of 4 seconds off of the leaders, the lead pack, when he came into pit road. That was about 8 laps ago. 8-lap difference. He is only about a second ahead of Cole Scotty, Chris Stitz, and Nick Collins. So not a major gap made if you pit and you're driving by yourself, but if you come in as a group, I think that's going to be the more interesting thing for Stitz as well as Scotty. How will they drive as one, trying to go through this field as no reports of our lead group coming into pit road, but that of Cole, as well as that of Bill Dart, both coming into pit road as Nick Holland comes into pit road. Black flag, unsafe pit exit for Nick Holland in the 68. His race gets thrown away.
Another playoff driver with issues, Sam, and pit stops. And it's every week we talk about making pit road mistakes, and whether it be speeding, unsafe pit exit, unsafe pit entry, there it is from the 68. A chance for a solid top 10, maybe a top 5 finish thrown out the window. As here come our race leaders, Ken Campbell, that of Zach Hall coming down pit road. Are they going to get it slowed up in time and have a clean entry? Looks like they do. Now it's all about getting in and out of your box as quickly as possible for these two drivers.
And Will Bustler also going to be joining in with that pack. And Travis Dart leads the way. Kyle Carpenter going to be in second. Jonathan Woods third. Christopher Wade all still out on track as Nick Holland, after having to stay in pit road for 54 seconds, finally gets rolling, and he is currently 3 laps down. You hate to see for a driver that's fighting for a top 10, maybe even a top 5 finish, and it is all thrown away. Christopher Wade now going to be hitting pit road for the 53.
Here I was thinking, Sam, that next week at the Indy Road Course was going to be our exciting race because it's kind of the ringer race that nobody really knows the track well, but here at Vegas, we've seen everything from pit road incidents to contact between playoff drivers to pit road penalties. I think this race has given us everything I think we wanted out of it.
I think about other leagues that we've covered here at Las Vegas, the ISRC Truck Series that we cover on Monday nights. As here comes our leader, Travis Dart. I think that Cal Carpenter as well joining in, and Jonathan Woods all into pit road. And more drivers, even Gackles coming in. John Dart, Cameron Sarton, and Sam Siegel hitting pit road. But we've seen on ISRC on Monday nights, they run trucks as well. And whenever they come to Las Vegas, it is probably one of the most dramatic races of the season whenever they come here. This track just naturally brings out chaos. And I guess when they say the phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, they truly do mean it.
Yeah, having been a part of a couple of those races, I can attest that it does bring out the craziness. And I think it's part of the package with the trucks. You're just so close to one another all the time in these things, and how much on throttle time you have. A little mistake can cause a huge incident and cause a lot of chaos, and we've seen it here tonight with the drivers getting loose and getting into one another, and just another typical Vegas race where anything that can happen is going to happen. And who knows, we still got a long way to go to the end of this, and who knows what could happen.
As right now, still have 3 drivers that have to come into pit road. 4 drivers that have to come into pit road. And Ross Tatum finally going to make his way into that pit lane entry. Nick Gould still needing to come and make a stop, as well as Ryan Lynch, that both are going to stay out for another lap for themselves. Joshua Altus needs to come to pit road, but the 94 expected to stay out as long as possible as he is banking on a caution flag come out because of the fact that he got caught up in that wreck on the restart. Self-spin that threw him a lap down, but if a wreck of caution flag comes out, it could rejuvenate him to kind of try to get back into the mix if we see our lead drivers coming to pit road, such as Nick Gould and Ryan Lynch, and then a caution flag comes out to reset everybody. But right now, the drivers that are expected to take the lead, Cole Sacchetti, Chris Stitz, are being ran down by Ken Campbell and Zach Hall.
Yeah, about a 4-lap tire difference between that of Campbell and Hall, along with Medlin and Bustler. So they're quickly trying to run these two down, but it's that clean air that the 42 has that I think might be his biggest advantage. We haven't seen Ken Campbell really be in dirty air all night long. It only took him about, that of 2 or 3 laps to get around Travis Dart at the start of the race, but now he's going to have to get through that of Chris Stitz, Cole Sacchetti, and those 2 trucks, Sam, aren't going to be easy to pass for this 15 once he catches up to him.
Yeah, you're going to need a little bit of draft help, and that's when he's kind of calling on Zach Hall and Andrew Medlin to try to close in the gap. But again, how fast do you want to close in? Do you want to save those tires? As Ken Campbell has been running about 3 to 4 tenths faster than these 2 that you see on screen of Sacchetti and Stitz, as we're about to see the 15 start getting our camera view as you see the difference. Those 5 drivers all going to be fighting for this win. here at the end of the day. The differences on speed and on lap differences is going to be 4 laps between Ken Campbell and Chris Stitz and Cole Sacchetti, as well as Zach Hall and Andrew Medlin. They're on the same tires as Ken Campbell, so a 4-lap advantage for the 3 drivers catching up to the 17 and 42. But Nick Gould, Ryan Lynch yet to come into pit road, and they're expected to be forced into pit road on the next 7 laps.
Yeah, they're going to have to come down pit road, and they're not too far. You know, if caution comes out, they could be sitting pretty well with track position, but it's going to be the question is who's going to get this battle for the lead between Sacchetti, Stitz, Campbell, Hall, Medlin. These guys are all now on top of one another as those 3 freaky fast racing trucks have caught up to these 2. The question is going to be for Campbell, where do you want to go to try to step through these passes? We've seen the top line be the preferred line to make a pass. Bottom line kind of eats the tires away. Will the 42 and the 17 defend the outside? They will. Kane Campbell, Zach Hall going to take it to the inside line and see if they can clear the 17 of Chris Stitz.
For Stitz, he's got to hope these runs on the outside, the momentum you build on the straightaways is going to be enough. But the draft, with more drivers in line, the advantage goes to the inside group. But again, it's that momentum that you're building up. Able to get back into the throttle sooner. Carry your speed a lot better on the outside. That's keeping the 42 still there, but not for long. Ken Campbell, he's got the fresh air now on the inside lane. They're starting to close in on lap traffic in front of him, but honestly, what a move right now as we're seeing these pack drivers keeping it close, but Ken Campbell, just the speed he can carry with those fresh rubber, looks so much stronger than the outside lane.
Looks stronger than the outside lane, but I got to tell you what, that of Cole Sacchetti doing a really good job of hanging on that outside groove here as he tries to keep side by side with Campbell, but Campbell's going to clear, get that fresh air. Now it's going to be Zach Hall, Medlin that have to try to clear this of Cole Sacchetti. Zach Hall's going to have him cleared here in the trial. Now it's going to leave Andrew Medlin to the inside in 1 and 2 to see if he can get clear of Cole. And I think Cole's just going to go ahead and give that spot up and also give the spot up to Chris Stitz here in the 17.
Making the swap as the 17 now has to set up and figure out how to make this pass. Ken Campbell now in a 2nd place, but should be the leader once Ryan Lynch comes into pit road in the next 3 laps or so. Joshua Altus yet to come into pit road for the 94, but he is on the first car 1 lap down. So if we get a caution now, he will be back on the lead lap as Nick Gould has made his stop. But Ken Campbell looking strong as they're blasting their way on by Jonathan Casebeer, who was involved with the last caution that, honestly, the 8 just caught up with the wreck between himself and John Dart. Hate to see it for the 8 machine that was having a very quality run. It was looking like a top 15 finish potentially, but instead back in 23rd, 1 lap down.
Yeah, just was having a good run for himself and just that little bit of contact made. You see all the damage to the 8 of Jonathan Casebeer taking him out of the race. Thankfully for him, though, has a lap over Nick Holland, so not going to finish last in this race, but not the start to the playoffs that I think that 8 wanted, especially after getting the win last week at Talladega.
As Ryan Lynch makes his pit stop, it's Kyle that of Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, Andrew Medlin, the 3 freaky fast racing drivers in line, leading this race and trying to pull away from Chris Stitz and Cole Sacchetti. Looking at the tires, though, Will Bustler was the next one in line, and I'm looking at the times. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Will Bustler because he came into pit road almost on top of those freaky fast racing drivers, and he has completely lost 3 seconds off our leader right now.
Yeah, not sure what happened to him. I mean, kind of interesting to see. I mean, we know he has the speed to be up there. He ran down Ken Campbell in the stage. Looked like he might have had a chance to pass him, but maybe just a poor pit exit for the 1 machine that saw him lose all this time, as he still is yet to catch that of Cole Sacchetti, Chris Stitz. And once he gets around them, might lose a little bit more time to our race leaders, Sam, as he tries to make that pass once he finally catches those 2 drivers.
As Joshua Altus is now leaving pit road, all drivers have made their pit stop. They're going to take us to the end of this race. Thank you so much to everyone that's been watching with us on your Tuesday night, watching the Full Send Racing Series. It's the first race of the playoffs for these drivers for Season 4. Next race will be the cutoff race of the round of 12, where we go from 12 down to 8, and it's Indianapolis Road Course the drivers are heading to next week. But for tonight's race, it's down to these 3 drivers if no yellow flag comes out. And for Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, and Andrew Medlin, teammates, but could they become rivals at the later stages of this race? When and if you make a move, it's going to be on Zach Hall on where he wants to go, and then Andrew Medlin's going to have the ultimate power of which teammate does he want to assist at the end of this race?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these three decide to do. Do they ride it out, or we already talked to Ken at the stage. He said Andrew Medlin's kind of on his own, has his own mentality, trying to get the win, trying to be that highest points pointed truck that's not in the playoffs. And you got Zach Hall. I mean, he's won 4 races already this season. He's trying to secure himself into the next round. So when do they do battle? And when you get to battle, and Sam, they're your teammates at the end of the day. You don't want to make contact with one of your teammates that's in the playoffs and potentially put them in harm's position going into the next week.
They really don't want to be throwing this away in any way possible. Riding on board with Zach Hall, trying to just stay in line. And these drivers have been in line with one another. But Joshua Alta is going to be putting a little bit of pressure behind these drivers. Fresh rubber compared to the draft. The 94 is going to be throwing it down low. Going to see Zach Hall run a little bit higher. It's because he's seen the 94 closing in, and there goes Alta's. He's on the freshest of rubber out there on track, and just showing fresh rubber, so we know what that of 16 lap difference of tires looks like.
Yeah, you see the speed differences. Josh is going to wrap the bottom here, get around that of Zach, get around the 15 of Campbell. And Zach, I might have thought he might take a chance to maybe get to the inside of his teammate here, but just going to fall in line. He's actually get a really good drive off at turn number 2. They're still going to be side by side with the 94 machine, but here in 3 and 4, Joshua Alta is going to get clear of our race leaders, and now it's going to go back to the 3-horse race between Campbell, Hall, and Medlin, and slowly closing in, and not by about 0.3 a lap. Looking at the lap times, Travis Dart on 2-lap fresher tires in our race leaders, only about 3 seconds back is that 26 machine, Sam, and still 0.3 quicker than our race leaders that last time by.
Yeah, Travis Dart, Will Bustler, both of them kind of working as a pair, trying to close in on 4th and 5th place runners of Chris Stitz and Cole Sacchetti. And Will Bustler could be trying to find a way to be a stealer here and move up for a top 5 finish after kind of the up and down night that he's had. And a poor pit road stop at the stage that poached him back to 3rd, which then he lost a ton of position and was never really a threat for the win. Right now, Travis Dart putting the pressure on Cole Sacchetti as well, trying to get by Chris Stitz. That fresh rubber is allowing the 26 to get back into the mix here, and as well with the side-by-side racing, it's slowing down the drivers. And here comes Will Bustler in the 1 with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, I think for Travis, he needs to get these passes done quickly. I don't think he's going to have enough time, even if he gets around that of Cole Sacchetti and Chris Stitz, to run down our race leaders, but nevertheless needs to get these passes done quickly so it doesn't allow that one of Will Bustler to maybe try to attack the 26 machine here as he uses up these tires on the inside line trying to get around Cole Sacchetti.
Will Bustler is now in that tricky spot because we're at 9 laps to go. You got to make these passes quickly, but he's at the mercy of if Travis Dart can make these passes himself. A very tricky situation for where you want to go if you want to make these passes. Again, this is trying some major points that can be grabbed for Chris Stitz and Will Bustler, the other 2 drivers, non-playoff contenders. But that buffer is massive for Will Bustler, who was outside looking in coming into tonight. And with the great runs, great points that have been grabbed, this could be a buffer that he could have going into next week where he'll be inside of our Elite 8 on the point standings as the outside lane powers their way through and Will Bustler continues to stay high for the 1 machine.
Yeah, it chose the right line there. You can just see how much, even with the tire advantage that Travis has over Cole Sacchetti, Chris Stitz, how much better that outside line gets a run out of the corner. Is Cole Sacchetti going to block a little bit here on the 1 of Will Bustler through the tri-oval, not allow him to get to the outside as they're bobbing and weaving. And Sam, if we see a late race caution, this might be from where it is. If these 3 or 4 trucks get to racing too hard with one another, we could see contact that could put us in a green, white, checkered situation.
Trying to help a friend is that of Cole Sacchetti with Chris Stitz really putting the pressure on the 1, trying to box him in, almost throwing him into the outside wall. 7, about to be 6 laps to go here tonight. As Ken Campbell, Zach Hall, and Andrew Medlin continue to pull away. It's now a 3-second gap lead between that of 1st place back to 4th. And Zach Hall is still just hounding that back bumper. And, you know, there's a lot of different decisions that can be made here. Ken Campbell comes into this race 5th in points. He only had a 2-point buffer over that cutoff line. And if he wins, he'll be automatically locked into the Elite 8. Zach Hall, if he wins, he'll be automatically locked in as well. But if Zach doesn't win, it's not the worst thing in the world. He had a 16-point advantage coming into this night. And even if he finishes in 2nd, he'll have very close to a 20-point advantage heading into next week, where he is very strong and known to be a road course ringer. But that's 32. Just wait this out.
I think that might be the play there is get King Campbell locked in with the win. You know, Zach, like you said, he showed a lot of speed at that of Watkins Glen before he made an unfortunate mistake there that cost him a chance at winning. But, I mean, going into a road course with the advantage that he had coming into the playoffs and with how many points he's going to get here tonight with potentially finishing second, I mean, that almost guarantees him into the next round just based off of points alone, and getting both those teammates through to that round of 8 is I think very important to both of them.
Teammates through, as Freaky Fast Racing has been a very quick and efficient team at times. His last couple of races, though, it's been all about trying to help Andrew Medlin. Now it's being selfish. Run for yourself. Get yourself into the next round as quickly as you can. 3 laps to go here at the Impact Sim Designs 200 at Las Vegas. It is all that of Ken Campbell. Led the most laps. The last driver to lead the most laps and a win was back in Season 2 when they ran the trucks here in the Full Center Racing Series, as they've swapped back and forth from Xfinity Season 1, Trucks Season 2, Xfinity Season 3, and here in Season 4, back to the trucks. It was Chris Stitz led the most laps and won the race, and it was Travis Dart that had the pole. Well, all those alignments so far, Travis Dart got the pole, and right now the driver that's led the most laps, leading the way in that Ken Campbell.
At 2 to go here, but Zach Hall, I'm showing a little bit of pressure here as he tries to close in on this 15 machine, still kind of watching the battle between Will Bustler and Cole Sketti, but up front, Ken Campbell trying to pull away from his teammate here, coming to the white flag. Got a pretty good gap back to that of Andrew Medlin as Campbell pulls a little bit of gap out of turn number 4 to the white flag.
Freaky Fast white flag is out. It is all that of Ken Campbell leading the way. Zach Hall trying to close in, though.
Trying to close in here in 1 and 2, following his teammate, trying to use that draft. Takes a little bit lower of a line, trying to get some clean air. Maybe get that truck to rotate a little bit better for himself. Down the back straightaway, still about 2 truck lengths the gap as they head into 3 and 4. Campbell going to run that middle line, or run it down to the bottom. Zach Hall going to follow suit. And Ken Campbell out of turn number 4 looks like he's going to have this thing in the bag and lock himself into the round of 8.
And Campbell doesn't have to worry about the road course. The 15 gets it done and will send his way to the Elite 8 as Zach Hall will settle for second. And there were almost some wrecks going on back for 4th, 5th, and 6th as Will Bustler able to just fall in 6th. But man, Ken Campbell, what a night of dominance. This 15 looked stout here this evening.
Once he got to the lead, Sam, he was untouchable up front all night long and just ran a great race for himself, locks himself into the next round. Great run from Zach Hall, though, up 18 spots, qualified back there in 20th position, got up 18 spots to finish second. And then their other teammate, Andrew Medlin, I mean, it's a 1-2-3 for Freaky Fast Racing, Sam. He gets a 3rd place finish for himself, so great run from that team, you know, all throughout the whole night.
Well, based off the playoff ownership points, Freaky Fast Racing maximizing there. Ken Campbell maximizing with the win to move on to the next round. And now he gets to burn some rubber as the 15 gets to have his fun on screen. We're going to step away. When we come back, it is the post-race show. We talk to our top 3 as well as Spotlight Driver to get their thoughts on tonight. We'll be right back after this. What a playoff run we got to see there. It's the first race of the round of 12 done and dusted. Ken Campbell gets the win at the Impact Sim Designs 200 here at Las Vegas. What a run we got to see this evening for 133 laps, the full Sim Racing Series. Let's talk to those drivers here tonight. To victory lane, we bring in Ken Campbell, the 15. Ken and Sam and Trevor up at the booth. Congratulations on the win here tonight and locking yourself into the next round.
I appreciate it, boys. It's a huge weight has just been lifted off my shoulders.
I mean, Ken, you had the fresh air all night long. You told us at the stage break how important it was. I mean, was there a point where you were worried there toward the end? I mean, you had Zach Hall and your teammate Andrew Medlin hounding you there for those last 30 laps or so after the pit stops. Were you at all worried about them potentially getting around you, or were you feeling pretty good out there in the front?
No, I was feeling good at the front. Once we got lined up 1, 2, 3, I think we had more communication tonight than we did at the super speedways, and so it was extremely nice to have them back there. And rather than worrying about, hey, is he getting a run? Is he going to go, this side or that side? I need to block it. I was just getting cheered on for the last stage, and so that was amazing. I have the best teammates. They were fantastic.
I mean, Ken, you now don't have to worry about the stress of next week, but does that mean that you're going to be taking next week off and just focusing on the next race in the round of 8, which is going to be Atlanta and Martinsville, or are you still focused on keeping this momentum into next week?
No, I'm definitely going to try to keep the momentum. I'm not a road guy, but I bought a wheel specifically for road courses, so I'm definitely not going to sit it out. But yeah, go try to get better and cheer them on, right? And I don't plan on seeing Zach because I think he's going to be a lap, half a lap ahead of me. Maybe I'll wave as he laps me. But yeah, just go in, see what we can get, keep the momentum going, and cheer them on.
Well, Ken, congratulations again on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
First and foremost, as always, thanks to my wife and kids for supporting me at everything that I do, sim racing included. My mom and sister for their support, watching the broadcasts, all that. I've already mentioned them, but Zach and Medlin are fantastic teammates, and just that freaky fast team. Once we get going and have that communication, we're pretty hard to beat. So I'm glad that we got the finishes that we've honestly been deserving for a while, and things have just been happening. Wade and Chelsea, shout out to them as well. Impact Sim Designs, ButtKicker, Next Level Racing. The admins, Travis and John, do a fantastic job. All the guys here racing, it's fantastic. And you guys up in the booth.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. Congratulations on this win and good luck next week.
Appreciate it.
Well, as we go for victory lane, let's go to second place to that of Zach Hall. The 32 machine running a different scheme here this evening, but comes away with a second place finish. Zach, congratulations on second. Man, how are you feeling after that performance this evening?
Feeling really good, man. Top 3 for the team. I think it's the first one all season we've got to actually complete, because I feel like we've been there a few times to get it done, and that's just awesome to see. This was huge for Ken, of course. I had a pretty good points gap, so I didn't have too much to risk tonight. I came in here saying, hey, I just need to come in here and have a solid points night, and that'll propel me to a position where Indy Road Course next week will be kind of a little bit easier and not much of a worry for me. So I came in here thinking that, and after qualifying, not getting my second lap in with some issues, not getting the timing right, it was tough to get up there, but I am just so happy that we pulled that off. It was just perfect execution from the team.
Zach, second biggest mover of the night. I mean, we heard from Ken how important clean air was. I mean, how hard was it to get those passes done to get up there to the front tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfathomable to say, man. It was so tough. By lap 15 or 20, I think I was in 13th or something, and I was like, man, if something doesn't change here, there's no way I get even close to the top 5. I'm gonna need some type of strategy or something to fall my way. And I think some people had some issues on pit road there, and that allowed me to get up to 6 on that restart after the stage. And from there, I mean, I was able to get in line in 4th after a restart, and we had that other caution. So it kind of helped me gain that little bit of track position each and every time we did have those stops with the yellow. So that was a huge help for sure. And every single truck I got past, it got easier to drive. So that was a huge benefit. And then once I got to second, at that point, I mean, it's still tough, but it's a lot easier than what it was back in around 15th.
Well, Zach, congratulations again on second place. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, first off, shout out to my amazing teammates, man. They did an excellent job of qualifying, getting themselves and staying up front the whole race. I'm glad I could join them. So couldn't pick two better guys out here to be teammates with, to share ideas and kind of talk throughout the week on what we think we need to do to get the job done. And I'm so glad we were able to get a 1, 2, 3 here for Freaky Fast Racing and put on a good show for Freaky Fast Broadcasting. So that was a great night for us as a team. Shout out also to the league. I love this league, man. Full Sin Racing. I can't say enough good words about them. It's always super fun. Everybody races tough, but they race clean too. So it's what you want to have. Not somebody's just going to give it to you, and then somebody also that's going to keep it clean also when they're right on the edge of the grip level. So thank you to all the Full Sin, and last but not least, shout out to you guys up in the booth, all the work y'all do.
Well, that's going to be the 32 machine of Zach Hall. Congratulations on second, and good luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, from second place, let's head down to third place with the third and final Freaky Fast Racing driver. It's Andrew Medlin coming away third. Andrew, congratulations on third place. As a team, certainly an incredible run. But man, how are you feeling after this one?
I'll tell you, I think I could probably speak for Kenny and Zach. I feel like all three of us won the race. It was an absolutely perfect team execution tonight. I don't know if those guys thank their teammates or not, but I'm gonna do it. I'm kidding there, but yeah, no, I mean, just really, really happy. Certainly didn't have the confidence coming into this race that I thought we were gonna end up like that, especially me. But we teamed up there and got in line and made the right pit strategy and adjustments during the race and came home with about as good of a finish as the team could get there.
I mean, Andrew, you come into tonight so close to making it into the playoffs last week. Come into tonight, still looking for your first win of the season. Had a great run here tonight in third, along with your teammates there in 1 and 2. But 4 more races to go into the season. I know next week's the Indy Road Course, but how are you feeling about these last 4 races and potentially getting a win here in these last 4?
Much better than I felt after Talladega last week. So I'm glad that's behind us. I made an absolutely embarrassing move to get myself out of the playoffs. But, still in the owner's points race. We had a great start to the playoffs here. I've actually never raced Indy Road Course, where we'll be next week. So I got to get some good practice in there. As far as the rest of the tracks, I feel really confident, really good. So, yeah, even though I'm out of the drivers' playoffs, I still plan to give it my all and make a good run down the stretch here, Trevor.
Well, we can't wait to see how you perform in these next couple of weeks, Andrew. Congratulations once again for third place. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Actually, I got no shout outs. I'm good. No, I'm kidding. Hey, certainly want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife, Sarah, my father, Bruce, and Aaron, who's always watching every week, and Vernon and Joe and my nieces and nephews who started watching, Ethan Owen, Nora, Michael Bowen, and certainly my teammates. I mean, Freaky Fast Racing, 1, 2, 3. Wow. And couldn't have done it without Ken Campbell and Zach Hall. You guys putting on an awesome broadcast. And certainly tonight's race sponsor, Impact Sim Designs, and it's series sponsor appreciation night. So I got to give a shout out to Lap Traffic Podcast, who we got on the hood tonight, ButtKicker, Next Level Racing, and of course, again, like I said, you guys are putting on an awesome broadcast every week. Appreciate it, boys.
Well, that is going to be the 12 machine of Andrew Medlin. Congratulations on third, and good luck at the road course next week.
Appreciate it. See you guys next week. And as always, make sure to get your Freaky Fast Racing apparel.
Thanks, Andrew. Good luck as we go from third place. Let's go talk to our spotlight driver. That's going to be Kyle Carpenter in the 77 here this evening, with Kyle coming away 8th place finish this evening. Kyle, what a run for yourself. Trevor and I were talking about it at the start of the race. It seemed like you were kind of deeper in the field. We weren't sure how this truck was going to evolve throughout the night, but you come away with a top 10 finish. How are you feeling about that?
Feeling pretty good about it. I was really surprised.
I mean, Kyle, did you learn anything there in the first stage that really helped you there in the second half? Because, I mean, like we noted on, you were back there, 15th to 20th, but after the stage, I mean, you were constantly up there fighting for, a top 10 spot. I mean, what did you take away from that first stage that really kind of helped you there in the second half?
I really don't know where some of those positions came from, to be honest with you. But at some point, I felt like running the bottom in 1 and 2, there was some bumps down there, and it seemed like it just made the truck push up halfway through the corner. And I just kind of changed my driving line to run. If I was side by side, I try to run the middle. And then if I was single, I would try to like diamond it, go further out before I arc down to the bottom. And that seemed to help a lot. And being out front a little bit, like so a little bit of clean air seemed to help a lot.
That it really did seem to show. And, Kyle, those different changes gave you a great finish here tonight. You're still going to be in kind of a difficult position heading into next week, trying to make it to the Elite Eight. What is your confidence level heading to Indy Road Course going into next week?
I'm interested in running the Indy Road Course. We'll see how that goes. I haven't ran it too much, and we'll see what happens. Just gotta do what I can, and that's all I can do. We'll see if we make it to the next round, but I don't I kind of don't expect it, but we'll see what happens.
We can't wait to see how you perform, Kyle, next week, and we're rooting for you to move on to the next round in the Elite Eight. But before we let you go here this evening, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
I want to thank Impact Sim Designs for sponsoring the race, and all the other sponsors, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Congratulations once again for a top 10 finish in 8th place, and good luck next week at the road course.
Thanks.
Well, from our interviews of talking to our top 3 in our spotlight driver, that being Kyle Carpenter, let's take a look at where the unofficial results are this evening for the Impact Sim Designs 200 here at Las Vegas. The first race of the round of 12. It's a quick one. Only 2 races in this round, and this is where the drivers finished out. Ken Campbell, the only driver 100% solidified, will be running in the Elite 8 in 2 weeks. It was Zach Hull in 2nd place, Adrian Medlin in 3rd, Cole Sketty 4th, Chris Stitz in 5th, Will Bustler 6th, 7th goes to Travis Dart, Kyle Carpenter 8th, 9th goes to Jonathan Woods, and 10th Ross Tatum. But the rest of the field, Trevor, it is a wide sprue of where playoff drivers are.
I mean, it really is. You got Christopher Wade there in 11th, John Dart, even with all the damage that he received here tonight, in 12th. But then, I mean, the heavy hitters, Cameron Sarton 15th after the contact that he had with the 21 of Ross Tatum, who somehow, Sam, even with that rear end damage, comes away with the top 10. But Cameron Sarton down there in 15th. That of Jonathan Caseby, I mean, he looked quick here tonight, but then that little bit of contact that he had with John Dart puts that 8 machine down there in 22nd. Joshua Altus, who we saw had speed all night, down there in 23rd after his spin down pit road. Ryan Lynch as well. I mean, he was up there fighting for a top 10 spot before he got into the outside wall, I believe in turn 1 or 2, finishes all the way down there in 19th. But just what a wild night. Everything. Oh, and Nick Holland with the pit road unsafe pit exit down there in 24th. Had a really good run, was up there in the top 10, top 5 battling at one point before his pit road penalty. So, I mean, just what a wild night all throughout the field with playoff drivers going from the back to the front, from the front to the back, incidents between one another. And then we get to do it all over again, Sam, next week at a track that a lot of drivers don't have any experience around.
Hey, we get to see the brand new scanned road course at Indianapolis. We've seen the Indianapolis Oval, but the road course, excited to see how the differences are going to be for the drivers. Who's going to learn how to drive on the flat course? Who's going to be overwhelmed and maybe throwing it away? Cannot wait for it. And as well, with all the other series that we cover here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, they're all in the hunt in middle of the playoffs. As if you want more great racing, a great one to see is going to be tomorrow night as the Wicked Racing League head to Darlington. The last race of the round of 8 for them. Who will make the Final 4 to run for a championship at Kansas? You'll find out tomorrow night with Zach Hall and Brandon Colley. Then Thursday night, the Stars and Stripes series, they're getting themselves prepared for their cutoff race at Auto Club, who moves on to the next round. Cannot wait for it as they're in the ARCA cars. Then we skip Friday, head to Saturday. It's the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. It's their first race of the playoffs. Then we come back on Monday night to see who will be moving on to the next round to race in the Elite 8. Cannot wait for it, for that of the ISRC Truck Series. Then we're right back here. It's road course racing to see who's moving on. And Trevor, what a time of the season here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
It's my favorite time of the season, Sam. Playoff racing, always great to tune in and listen to the calls every day. Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then to be in the booth on Tuesdays and Saturdays with you and calling these great races. I mean, don't want to miss any of it, and make sure you tune in every night to Freaky Fast Broadcasting and catch these great playoff races.
Playoff season's always a blast for everyone in the booth and for audience members. Thank you for joining with us this evening for the Full Send Racing Series. The playoffs have begun, and that is our driver that has won here tonight, Ken Campbell, on screen in the 15. Thank you for joining with us. My name was Sam Dyer with Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you for joining with us. We'll see you on our next broadcast tomorrow night for the Wicked Racing League. Who makes the Final Four? Find out on our next Freaky Fast broadcast.